Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 2nd April today, and in this video we are going to solve some important questions which could be very much relevant for your preparation if you are preparing for UPSC prelims or any other state civil service exams. Before we will start our discussion, I would like to give the brief introduction about this initiative so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with us. Basically in this video, we are going to discuss three types of questions, and these questions would be taken from three different sources. So depending on it, the first set of questions which we are going to discuss here would be taken from the current affairs. What we are going to do here, we'll take up the most important articles from the newspapers. We'll take the most important articles from the newspapers. We'll try to break those articles down into the simplest language possible. And finally, we'll try to derive the possible prelims questions from those particular articles so that it will give the idea which part of the newspaper is important for you, what should be your approach when you are reading these news articles, and how you can expect a possible prelims question from those particular topics. This is what we are going to do in the first phase of our discussion. After solving questions with respect to current affairs, we will shift our approach to the second part. Here we will discuss questions from the static portion. Currently we are discussing Indian polity, and in Indian polity we are discussing the Parliament of India. And in Parliament of India, we had just started to discuss the Lok Sabha. So today we are going to discuss few important concepts related to Lok Sabha, and finally we will try to derive the possible prelims question which can be framed from those particular concepts, so that it will give the exact idea how a question can be asked in the exam, and it will prepare you well before your exams are there. So after solving questions with respect to current affairs and the static part, we will shift our approach to the last part of our discussion. Here we will discuss questions from the previous year question book. To me, it is the most important part, because in here we will try to learn what is the vocabulary used by UPSC over the years, what are the different trends UPSC tries to follow for framing your papers, and at the same time we'll try to understand what can be the different methods which we can implement in the exam if we don't have the proper knowledge, and at the same time we'll try to understand how we can implement this information in the upcoming exam. So this is in a nutshell what we are going to do in this video. Now before we will start our discussion, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel, do share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative, and please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you guys. Now with this, let's have a look at the first question which we had brought here. As you can see here, the question is basically talking about the difference between the misinformation and the disinformation. So the question which you can ask me here is, why sir we had brought this question here, what is the reason for that? I will answer this question after we will solve the question here. Basically first solving the question, then we will shift to the context of the question. So let us solve the question here first. The question says misinformation and disinformation differ in how they differ. First statement, misinformation is unintentionally spread while disinformation is intentionally spread. Basically both the two are the false information, and one is spread unintentionally, that is misinformation, and disinformation, that is spread intentionally with the intention that it will create harm in this society, it will create issues in this society. So that is exactly the difference between the misinformation and the disinformation. So the correct statement, misinformation is spread through social media while disinformation is spread through traditional media. This is just to distract you, it is totally incorrect. Third statement, misinformation is false information while disinformation is manipulated information. Both are the false information, but only difference is the misinformation is separate unintentionally. For example, there you would hear any news, and any news would be there on online platforms, and you would spread it without the intention of creating any harm in the society, but it is going to have the purpose behind it. Whatever the purpose would be, to impact the country, to impact the society, or to impact the particular person's reputation, it would be for that, it would be deliberate attempt to spread this fake news or fake information. So with respect to this cause behind that spread, why person goes for that, why it is done, there is definitely some purpose behind it. Now with this, I hope you had understood the question here. Now let's try to understand what is the context of the question. Basically there is an article in the newspaper which talks about what should be India's approach, what should be the approach in tackling the disinformation threats in India, what should be the approach in tackling the disinformation threats in India. Basically with respect to disinformation threats in India, recently the report was published by the World Economic Forum, and it has shown how it can be, how disinformation, the World Economic Forum, it came up with the report, World Economic Forum, it came up with the report that highlighted that how disinformation can be the largest threat to the world in shorter, for the shorter duration, how it can have the largest impact. It can impact the GDP of the country, it can have impact on the on the political stability of the country, and various other it will have huge disastrous impacts on particular country if this disinformation is spread. For example, let's see how it can impact the GDP. Suppose there are any misinformation or any fake information about for example, if any fake video of Donald Trump or Elon Musk would be shared on the internet, where they will talk about Donald Trump will talk about going for the sanctions on particular country or lifting the sanctions on the particular country. So how does it impact the world? The world who are listening to this information would take their decisions with respect to this. As right now we know that how powerful USA is, we know how powerful Donald Trump is, we know that how he can impact the global market. So with respect to his statements, we can change our investments, we can it can impact our pattern of investment, and definitely it can impact the global economy. So it definitely had the impact on the global economic GDP of the countries. It will have impact on the political stability. For example, if he will threaten any Russian president or any other president, they can retaliate, and it can have the political threat, it can have the political threats behind it. It can threat the political stability of the country, and various others, it will have various other disastrous impacts on the people also. So definitely according to the World Economic Forum, the disinformation is right now the world's largest threat. For the shorter duration, can have the huge impact. So with this, I hope you had understood this article, and also here the article highlighted that right now it is the need for the countries to bring in laws and regulations. We should follow the pattern followed by the European Union, how they had brought in laws to regulate it. We should follow similar pattern also. In fact, we have IT rules here, but there needs some amendments with respect to those, or we should bring in separate. For example, with respect to social media, we should bring in separate separate article itself, separate legislation itself, which can legislate this particular this particular topic. And also we recently we also brought in different for example, we had the fact check units, we had brought in those fact check units, so we can bring in different legislations which can take care of this issue. So this is the total narrative of the article here. This is the total context of the article, what we discussed here. I hope you had understood it, and I hope you had understood the question as well. Now with this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought here. Well, here the question which you can see on the screen is basically about the Indian knowledge system. As mentioned in the National Education Policy 2022, encompasses what. So why we brought this question here? What is the reason for that? Let me tell you. Before we will go to the context, before we will go to the context of this question, why we brought this question, first let's solve the question. Let us see what it is about. What does the Indian knowledge system, as mentioned in the National Education Policy 2020, what does it encompass? Let us see what does it contain. First statement, it contains only the traditional knowledge system of Ayurveda, Yoga and Sanskrit. No, totally incorrect. Second statement, traditional knowledge system as well as modern sciences and technological innovations. 100% correct. Only the knowledge system developed during the Indus Valley civilization. Incorrect. Only the knowledge system documented in Vedas and Upanishads. Totally incorrect. So with respect to this question, this Indian knowledge system, what does it contain? It does contain the traditional knowledge system as well as the modern science and technological innovations. In traditional knowledge system, it contains Ayurveda, Yoga, Sanskrit, all that stuff, and with that it also contains the modern sciences and technological innovations. Now you had understood what it is about. Now let's discuss why we had brought this question, because recently, few days back, we discussed an article in which Miss Sonia Gandhi had criticized the Indian education system, how it is going on after their government, in simpler terms. So today, the education minister, he came up and brought in the article where he gave the huge amount of data, how education system improved since 2014, how how woman participation had improved in schools, and also he discussed about various issues which had been carried out through these years. And also in this regard, he discussed about the Indian knowledge system, how it was brought in, how it has collaborated the traditional knowledge with the modern science and technologies, and it has highlighted how many universities had adopted to this curriculum, how many universities had adopted this, and it has in a way showed the success of this system, the success of this education system in our country. So basically the article was much political in nature, but the data which was given there was not that much, is not that much important for you, if I will be more precise here. But this scheme itself is important, and few related data, for example, the percentage of women participation, how much it has increased, the percentage of people from the SCs, STs and OBCs, how much they had their participation has increased. It could be important for you for the mains writing. For example, if you have to write about the SCs, the 50% participation has increased for them. For STs it is 75%, and for OBCs it is 54%. In the higher education, their participation in their enrollment has increased to these levels in these years. And also it discussed about the female enrollment, it has increased to 38%, and the employment for the female teachers, that has reached to 44% approximately. So these are few important data which you can note down, which can be important for your mains writing. This does not have any relevance with respect to your prelims, but this Indian knowledge system, which was discussed in the same article about its success, this Indian knowledge system itself can be important for your prelims, and we had established what it is all about. With this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Well, here the question is about the employees pension scheme 1995. So let's see what does the question say. The question says, consider the following statements concerning the employees pension scheme 1995. First statement, an employee must have completed at least 10 years of eligible service to qualify for a pension under this EPS 1995. 100% correct. Second statement, the maximum pensionable salary considered for contribution to the EPS 1995 has remained unchanged since its inception. Totally incorrect. It has changed. Earlier it used to be it used to be something different. Then there was cap put on in 2014, and it was the cap for this was 1000 was the cap. That was the minimum pension that could be granted through this scheme. And it has changed over years. And why it is in news? It is exactly because of this particular thing, that they are demanding that people are demanding that this pension under this scheme should be increased, as in 2014 it was kept at 1000 rupees, and now it is 2025. There is lots of things had changed since 2014. The inflation has came in, the things had become much costlier. So people getting this much, only 1000 rupees as pension under this scheme, would not be able to buy anything of those 1000 rupees. So what they are asking government, that this pension should be increased in thousands, from 1000 to further. But the government of India is right now rejecting this this request, the reason for that is there are government has much to do, irrespective of this. They have much to spend on different schemes. So in a way we can say government does not have funds for this. So second statement is incorrect. Third statement, withdrawal benefits under EPS 1995 are permissible before an employee reaches the age of 58 under specific conditions. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 3 only. With this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Well, here the question is basically about the creamy layer concept. Why we had brought this question here? Because the House panel, it has suggested raising the creamy layer limit from 8 lakh. Currently the creamy layer limit, it is 8 lakh, that the family of the person, if they are earning above 8 lakh rupees, then they will be they will not belong to the, they will be in the creamy layer. They won't get the benefits which the OBCs are getting. So with respect to this, there is discussion that it should be increased above 8 lakh rupees. Now with this, let's solve the question. Let's understand more about it through this question. Question says, regarding the creamy layer concept with the other backward classes reservation framework, consider the following statements. First statement, the creamy layer criteria solely rely on the annual income of the individual seeking reservation. No, it does not rely on the individual seeking reservation. His parental income is also considered. So first statement is incorrect. Second statement, children of individuals holding constitutional posts are automatically excluded from OBC reservation benefits. No, they are not automatically excluded. So second statement is also incorrect. Third statement, income from agriculture land is included when calculating the annual income for determining creamy layer status. It is also incorrect. So with respect to this question, which of the following statements given above is are not correct? All the three statements are not correct or incorrect. So correct, the correct answer to this question would be option D. So with this, I hope you had understood the question as well as the context of the question, why we discussed this question, because there is a demand that the creamy layer limit should be increased from 8 lakh to more than 8 lakh. It should be increased, whatever the amount would be kept, but right now it should be increased from the 8 lakh limit. So with this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Well, here let's read the question. Let's see what does the question, what question is about. Basically, the question says, the delay in conducting the decennial census can significantly impact the implementation and effectiveness of various government schemes. In this context, consider the following potential consequences. Basically there was discussion in the news article which talked about the delay in the census, in the conducting of the census, which was supposed to happen in 2021, but it is 2025. Still it has not happened. So it does not only have the political, only have the delimitation impact. It does not only have the political impact, but it has much social impacts too associated with it if it is not conducted. For example, it has impacts with respect to this various government schemes, with the beneficiary, those government schemes, the welfare programs which are put forward in, which are brought in by the government. If the census is not properly defined, if we follow the wrong census or old census, then the then the scheme which has been put forward for the people, the welfare program which has been put forward for the beneficiaries, then the welfare of this scheme will not be reached to the targeted beneficiaries, because we don't have the proper data. So with respect to this, we had brought this question, we had framed this question. So through this question you will understand much about it in a very in a very simpler terms. So let's solve the question. The question says, the delay in conducting the decennial census can significantly impact the implementation of and effectiveness of various government schemes. Very true. In this context, consider the following potential consequences. First statement, inaccurate targeting of beneficiaries for welfare schemes due to outdated population data. 100% correct. Second statement, misallocation of funds and resources leading to inefficiencies in public service delivery. 100% correct. Third, impaired ability to formulate evidence-based policies for addressing social and economic disparities. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, all the three statements are correct, and these are the potential consequences of delay in conducting the census. So the correct answer to this question would be option D. With this, we had completed our questions discussion with respect to the current affairs part. Now let's move to the another part of our discussion where we will solve a static topic based question in the Lok Sabha. So today it is continuation to that discussion where we were discussing the introduction about the Lok Sabha. So let's solve this question, and through this question understand few more basic concepts related to Lok Sabha. Here the question says, regarding the duration of the Lok Sabha, consider the following statement. It is basically talking about the duration of Lok Sabha. First statement, the normal term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years from the date appointed for its first meeting. 100% correct. It is not from the from the first meeting. The normal term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years. It is not from the usually we get confused that once any political party wins the election, and we know that they are going to form the government, we believe that time starts from then. No, it is not from that time, but once the first meeting is conducted, the time starts from then. So first statement is correct. Second statement, the President of India can dissolve the Lok Sabha before the completion of its normal term on the advice of the Prime Minister. 100% correct. Nothing wrong with the statement. Third statement, the duration of the Lok Sabha can be extended during a proclamation of emergency, but it cannot exceed 1 year at a time. 100% correct. During emergency, it is extended every 1 year. For first 1 year, then if emergency would not be revoked, then it will be again extended to 1 year. In this 1 year at a time period, it is extended. So third statement is also true. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1, statement 2, and statement 3, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option D. With this, let's move to the last question of our discussion from the previous year question book. As you know, this question is from the world geography, and this question was asked in 2014. Let's see what does the question say. Question is talking about Turkey is located between Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. No. Gulf of Suez and Mediterranean Sea. No. Gulf of Aqaba and Dead Sea. No. Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. That is the correct answer. So with this, we had completed our today's discussion. I hope you would have liked the video. I hope you would share it with your friends, and definitely I hope you would subscribe the channel. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.